conversation with another entrepreneur about bookkeeping or taxes and walked away from the conversation asking, well, why doesn't my bookkeeper do X? Or I thought my tax preparer was supposed to do Y. Well, I'm speaking with the accounting manager of GIP Financials, Latasha Phillips, about roles and responsibilities in business finance. Yes, you play a very important role in the delivery of services your bookkeeper, your tax preparer, tax planner, or CPA provides. Are you ready to grow? Let's get into this episode. Welcome everyone to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, you know who I am. I'm your host, Sonja Jones of GIP Financial, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. So if you haven't seen this person here on our social media, you ought to know who this person is, because she is definitely the one that keeps GIP Financials rolling and flowing, right? So Latasha Phillips, our accounting manager for GIP Financials, and the creator, the mastermind, the genius behind the DIY tracker. So y'all give it up for Latasha, dog pound, woo, 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 woo. Yeah, I had to bring you in, right?
I know. It's always funny though.
Right. I try to make it fun. So
We hype each other up, so it's
right,
good.
right. I'm gonna give you your flowers, because baby, that DIY tracker is changing games for entrepreneurs all over America. Yes.
Yeah, they do love it. I'm sleeping on myself. I need to do better with it.
Right, but that's all right, because guess where it is? In GIP Academy, which you'll hear
Yes.
about in the commercial break later on. It's the bell of the ball. It's the bell of the ball. All right, so we are talking today about how to help your money team. Because as you guys are seeking out professionals, whether it's a bookkeeper, a tax preparer, CPA, tax planner, right? We're just noticing some trending behaviors, if you will, that we need to address, right? Because what we don't want you to have happen, especially like building up a mindset of, oh, I can't, trust people, I can't, um, just because you may not understand the full role or the expectation of whatever expert that you need, right? So we want to just help you guys talk about some scenarios, and also just provide some insight on those different functions. So we're actually going to throw out some scenarios that we've noticed just on trending experiences with some clients, and even things that we've heard on podcasts and stuff like that. Because we just like, yeah, we need to talk about that, because we're seeing these things too much, and we need to address them, right? So the whole purpose of this episode, like I said, is one thing for you to, engage with a money expert, but it's another thing for you to understand, like, how we talk about in business of having ideal clients. It's not just in money, but also in behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially for my entrepreneurs out there, that client that be quick to sign stuff, but then they be like all in, like, what you doing? What are you doing? What is that? When the deadline? Da 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 da. Right? You got to make sure y'all have a healthy, professional relationship. So we're going to be talking about some of those things and how you can help your money expert. Okay? So I'm just letting you know now. We might step on some toes, like Pastor Sean said. You might get tight in your chest, but it's all in love.
All in love, child.
It is all in love. So first thing we're going to talk about is having defined roles, right? So as a bookkeeper, right, there's certain things that I know I need to do for my client, but there's also things that I expect my client to do for me in order for me to perform said thing, or to deliver, whatever the outcome is for the client. Same thing for Latasha, right? If Latasha has, a task to help you file your taxes. It goes beyond that, just depending on what you need, right? And even with that, just whether it's current year taxes, prior year taxes, right? Or even if it's, another type like state level taxes, all those different types of services require an expectation from her and from the client, right? So I think, especially from the bookkeeping side, always going to be documentation, right? Getting those bank statements in. And also with accounting software, right? So when we talk about accounting software, and I'm going to just use QuickBooks as an example, because with QuickBooks, you have not only like the bank transactions that need to be categorized, but then you also have like um, accounts receivable, like your invoicing, bill pay if you use it, payroll, things like that, right? So first things first, you have to make sure if you are not using any type of like engagement letter contract, if your money team person is not giving you a contract, an engagement letter, that'll tell you right there you probably don't need to do no business with them. Because at the end of the day, when there's a miscommunication, there's nothing for you to go back and refer to.
Right.
And then it's going to be your word against their word. And it's pretty much going to be a wash at that point. And that's what you don't want. Do not engage with any money professional without a contract. Do not.
100%
That's
agree.
my view, right? That's the first thing.
Right.
And then once you engage with said individual, you need to know what they're going to do for you, which should also be outlined in that engagement letter. And in order for them to do XYZ, you need to know what you need to provide to him or her. Okay? So that's what I'm going to say. Latasha, what you got to say?
I'm going to piggyback off of what you said.
Yes.
Always sign an engagement letter because, say, if there is something that is out of scope for us, we're able to refer back to that as well. It's like, no, we didn't agree to do this. Therefore, you can't argue with if we're telling you, no, this is out of scope because we actually have the documentation to prove and back up what we said. So we have to be clear about our expectations of the client. And that engagement letter is going to, outline that for them as well as us so that if we get in a situation where it's like, okay, no, this is not what I said, then it's documented and in black and white for both of us to decide how we want to move forward and how we want to handle the situation. But that contract is always going to not only cover us, but it's also going to cover the client as well. So if I'm not meeting your expectations, then you can go back to the engagement letter and say, okay, well, this is what you said. This is how it's outlined. And this is not what's happening. So what can we do about it?
Exactly. And then let's just talk about this too, because when it comes to, I'll just use bookkeeping as an example, right? Um, a lot of people don't understand what the basic tasks are when it comes to bookkeeping, right? So if you're wanting somebody to do your books, right? What in the world does that mean? So in most cases, baseline, they're going to categorize your transactions, which is your income, your expenses, and they're going to reconcile your bank account and should be able to provide for you and generate based off of that information the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement, depending on what type of software you have, because different software can yield different outputs. Hear me clearly, because every bookkeeper does not possess accounting skills. So even in that software, if they're doing that data entry and they are you know generating those reports, that doesn't mean that they're going to provide you with any type of strategy.
Right.
So you got to make sure that you understand, like, what do you want this person to do for you? Like, literally create a wish list. If
That's
I'm
a great
a
idea.
godmother and I say, what you want this bookkeeper to do? I want them to do boo, 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 boo. Hocus pocus. Bibbity bobbity boo. Bam. Right? That's what you want. I mean, let me use another example. Ladies, hello. We talked about our list of what we want our ideal man to look like and smell like and how much money you want to make and what type of career you're supposed to have. Do that for your bookkeeper, your tax preparer.
Listen, come on.
Hello, lights.
Come on in the room. Come on.
That's what you need. That's what you need to the deacon hand. All right.
Listen.
Go ahead, Latasha. What you got?
Uh, understand now, when you make that wish list, keep in mind that there are levels to the wish list. Okay? There are packages based on what it is that you're requesting. If you want the bare minimum, we have a bare minimum package. If you want some analysis, we have an analysis package. But if you want us to do everything for your whole company and your business when it comes to your financials, baby, that's going to cost you. You can't expect us to do everything at one price. And then we say, let's pause. That's out of scope. And you be
Mm,
like, well, you should be doing it anyway. Well, you can pay my premium prices for me to do that for you. I'm not obligated to do it if it's not the package you chose. Oh,
exactly.
wait a minute.
Do
Let me
that.
back up a little bit.
Right. Right. And I hope that what this conversation does for the entrepreneurs as well is I hope that this allows you to be thinking like, am I clearly communicating my services and prices to my clients? Right. Because if you notice you're having a lot of these types of um, conversations, then that's probably what needs to happen. Let's just go ahead and be transparent, right? Because if you guys know GIP financials, right? We are highly skilled at what we do, and we don't do bookkeeping for $1. We just don't. And we've bless you, pumpkin, and we've said it on other like videos and live streams, especially when it comes to like bookkeeping cleanups. If like now it's September and you haven't tracked your financials, you know, since January, that's upfront a four-figure investment. Now, how them four figures gonna look, it depends on what we got to do. Because you gotta think about the number of accounts you have. You gotta think about if you got payroll. You gotta think about if you have invoices, like if you got like several merchant accounts like Shopify, PayPal, things like that. All that different type of data makes a difference, right? So those are the things that are a factor. We will send out quotes and basically get ghosted, right? So one of the things that we have to do, some of the things that I've been thinking about in our discovery calls is like just asking up front, like, what's your budget? What do you expect to pay? Do you expect to pay that amount per month, per quarter, per year? Because what we can do in that situation, if you know that you can only pay like maybe $500 a month, we can give you the solutions that best fit us and for you. And we're going to let you know, like, you can't get all of this for this amount, but we
Dollar.
can provide an alternative solution for you, right? So I think that would be, fair, right? Because especially if you got somebody that's looking or shopping around and we send our quote and they mess around and get offended, it's probably because they just haven't, encountered like other bookkeeping professionals or money team professionals, right? Because if only deal with like a tax preparer that only does your taxes, right? And then the tax preparer say your business is growing, you probably need to invest in a bookkeeper, you know, then hopefully that tax preparer will kind of give you some insight depending on his or her depth of knowledge and experience to let you know, like, hey, this is what you should be looking for. This is what they should be doing for you to help me whip out them taxes, right? And get you what you
Right.
need. So that's what
Right.
I got. Go ahead. What you got, Latasha?
I was going to say, and that's what I did during tax season. It was like telling people like the way you presenting your business information to me, it's not okay, because now I'm having to like basically put all your stuff together when you should come to me prepared already, which is in return is going to take me longer to finish your taxes, because now, I don't want to say, I got to create something out of the mess that you brought to me.
Hmm. Right.
And not saying that I can't, but what I am saying is it shouldn't be expected to be included in the tax price.
Right.
Like my tax fee is for your tax filing only. If I have to do some bookkeeping on top of that, that's a whole nother service. That's a whole nother
Mhm.
set of fees right there. And again, if you sending me receipts and things like that, as a courtesy, yeah, I'll go through those things, but you have to keep in mind that I'm not obligated to do certain things. So if I start saying, okay, you want me to put this in a spreadsheet for you, this is going to cost you X, Y, and Z, then don't be surprised by that. Now, I can provide you with a document where you can actually do it yourself. But if you want me to do it, then that's going to be time that's going to take me away from filing your taxes and everyone else's. And that's a premium price. It's not included in the tax filing.
Exactly. And we talked about that before. We talked about that on several occasions. You can't assume that
Mm-hmm.
tax preparers do bookkeeping. That
Mm-hmm.
is a separate price. And I'll just put it out there too. I would consider if a tax preparer, right, is or is not doing bookkeeping, if they're not separating that out, I would probably question I probably just go question their skill. That's me, right? Now, don't get me wrong. That you might have like a special where you're combining, but at the end of the day, it's already communicated that those are two separate services, and if they're offering you a deal, that's an incentive, right?
Correct.
So yeah. So if you remember, like at the beginning of 2024, that's what Latasha and I did, right? So we did that, and then on top of that, we did like the boot camp for that sole purpose. And we had a couple of people that was like, "Hey, that price for that boot camp is that for taxes? We getting taxes? They have bookkeeping out? No, no,
Absolutely
that's
not.
that's not what they said."
That's a cheaper cleanup price. That's
Right,
what that is versus you
right.
paying the four-figure minimum. I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
we should, like when we do the intake form,
Mm-hmm.
like start putting on there, this is our minimum price. Is this an investment you're willing to make? And it'll
Right.
probably cut down. Well, never mind.
Yeah, it
It's
could.
just a thought.
It could because like just like Latasha was talking about, like we want to make sure, especially on that discovery call, we want to make
Yes.
sure that 15 minutes. And I know Diamond will appreciate this because she's our lead, and she keeps me accountable because I tend to go past the 15 minutes
Me
99.9% of the time. That lets us know how you complete that form. That means we got to modify. You hear us? We talking through things now. We got to
too.
modify that form to where once you're completing that form, we can see your information and already give you a solution based off of the information that you provided, right? So I hope
Mm-hmm.
y'all hear like this is live, like we working things out live, and we pretty much do
Mm-hmm.
this on a regular basis anyway, right? Because yeah, we want to make sure that our messaging is clear and that we're serving the people that we're called to serve.
Right. And ones that are actually willing to make that investment. It's like we're not over here trying to take your money. Like we trying to help you keep your money. Not only trying to help you keep money in your bank account and trying to keep you from paying the IRS a ton of money. Like that's what it starts with, planning ahead of time. If you plan ahead of time, then you don't have to be hit with this number one large bill for cleanup, but also a large tax bill because you didn't plan ahead of time. Like I understand when you start a business, everybody don't tell you about what you need to do and how to do it. But if you hear us consistently talking about this is what you need to do, this is what you should be doing to get your books in order, this is what you should be doing throughout the year, this is what you need to be doing. So when tax season rolls around, you're ready. And we're not just saying that to take your money. We saying you should probably rather give your money to us than give it to the IRS. At least we gonna give you something in return. We gonna add some value to your business, and that's a write off in itself.
Right. And let me just go ahead and slide this in since you gave me the LeBron, I'm going to put it in the bucket. Y'all, just because you're not filing these taxes doesn't mean they're going to go away. Some of y'all are like, several years behind just because you just don't want to deal with it. It'll be one thing like if this is a regular creditor, right? Worst case scenario, they'll send something through the court. You have and there's a garnishment. Y'all, this is the IRS.
IRS.
You can't run from them. And every day that you decide not to tackle it, that's interest, penalties, all types of fees that they decide they want to tack onto that. Just go ahead, go on and take care of it, and go ahead and move on. So the longer you wait, the more money you're gonna have to spend. And on top of
I
that,
have to say that.
when it
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like filing your taxes too, um, they're depending on like with the taxpayer, Latasha can talk more about it as far as like there's a certain window of time to do things. Like even like with the e-file, like we had a client to where, they had prior year tax returns and she discovered like, hey, I can't even e-file this any longer. We got to put this in the mail, stuff like that. So you got to make sure that you are with someone that can help you and gather those level of specifics, right? Because the IRS is not playing with y'all. They gonna send you a hey big head wherever you are.
Listen, and a huge tax bill. Like that
Huge.
$2,000 that you might owe when you file your taxes is going to turn into $20,000 because you did not file your taxes. And if they have to file it for you, baby, you gonna have to pay, and then you still gonna have to come back, do your taxes, pay somebody to do that unless you do it yourself. And if you're waiting 3 years or longer, like now you can't file them online anymore. You have what 3 years to e-file and 3 years to claim an actual refund.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you scared to file your taxes, but you actually are getting a refund, but you've talked yourself into thinking you gonna owe money. You don't know until you do it. But then you find out, oh, I'm getting a refund. Well, if you wait 3 years, you're not going to get that money because like they have a hard deadline. So what year we in 2024?
Mm-hmm.
So 2020, the last time to claim that refund was April 15th of this year. Not the extension deadline in October. It was April 15th, 2024 was the last time you can claim a refund from 2023. So those are things you have to keep in mind as well. And I mean, the IRS, they have payment plan options too. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you owe money, like take the time to meet with somebody. Like there are all types of companies out here, tax resolutions and things like that, that can help you decrease what you owe. Like I'm gonna do everything I can on my end, but I can only do so much because again, it starts with tax planning throughout the year. And once we get to April, it's like I can't do a whole lot for you. Once we get to October, there's not a whole lot I can do. But throughout the year, if I'm checking in with you and I'm sending you like, hey, we can set up a quarterly check-in or something, like you should take advantage of that, especially if you know you owe money or if you know your money had like what you've made has almost doubled. Like those are conversations that we need to be having.
Right. And on that note, we're going to pause for the calls and take a brief commercial break so y'all can hear about one of the solutions that's going to help you get on the right track with your accounting and tax stuff. So stay tuned. Taking a break. Hey, entrepreneur, I know managing your books is overwhelming. You don't know where the numbers begin or where they end, which keeps you getting denied for grants and loans. Let's not forget the unexpected tax bills, because you weren't aware of the tax deductions. So if you're thinking whether or not to close your business just because you can't find anyone that you trust to help you with your bookkeeping, you're not alone. 70% of entrepreneurs don't have a financial expert, and of that 70%, 64% admit to not knowing the basics. I'm Sonja Jones with GIP Financials, and I'm here to invite you to our online community, GIP Academy. So, what is GIP Academy? It's affordable access to bookkeeping experts. For only $97 a month, you'll receive our online library of webinars, monthly live teaching with other experts, and quarterly one-on-one support. It's a safe space for entrepreneurs to talk about money and get the answers you need to make your business profitable. So, if you're ready to know your numbers, if you're ready to get approved for funding, and most importantly, if you're ready to finally pay yourself from your business, click the link in the description below to join our wait list and get updates before the October 1st launch. I look forward to partnering with you. Let's get it. And we're back. So if you were listening about GIP Academy, today it is September the 7th. We are going to be launching October the 1st, right? I'll say this is pre-recorded, so you'll get this episode the week after. You know? All right, so I have to make sure I say that. Like, get rid of that symptoms. So, yes. So I hope that you guys take advantage of GIP Academy. The wait list is through September. Shout out to all the beta testers that are helping us set GIP up in the right way and giving us all that good feedback. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about providing a solution for our entrepreneurs, right? Because you guys need your funding, you need, your taxes filed properly. You want to stay in compliance so you can get, a position to get those contracts and stuff that you need to scale your business, right? It all starts with clean books. All right, so first, we talked about having defined roles with your money team. So the second thing that we're going to talk on this half, we're going to talk about consulting with your money team about major financial decisions and compliance tasks. Y'all, just because we are here providing bookkeeping, and this is for profits and nonprofits. I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, nonprofits, we're talking to y'all too. We are talking to y'all too. You guys can't be making major decisions about your money and not consult with us. One, because like we were talking about before, talking about outside of your scope. If you decide to take on like a loan or you decide to do payroll, something like that, you need to consult with us because that's going to affect your tax liability. And also, that may leave you without a professional to handle that segment of service, depending on what you guys agreed to in your contract, in your engagement letter. Because I will tell you, payroll is not included in a general bookkeeping package. Doing invoices, accounts receivable, tracking grants, bill pay, that's not included in general bookkeeping, right? Now, I will say this, especially when it comes to payroll. If you're running payroll, there is an element that's required for bookkeeping that we have to track on the back end to make sure that your balance sheet and your profit and loss look right. But that's an added expense. Okay. Same thing with your accounts payable and your accounts receivable. Because if we had to go in there and manage that and inform you of like, hey, these folks right here ain't paid their invoices, or you had bills in your accounting system, but you hadn't paid them. So have you paid them, or you just put the bill in there and you just forgot about it, that whole type of thing? Because those things, as you enter stuff, that's affecting your reporting. And you don't want to be in a situation where you got, maybe if your local government is offering like micro loans, like interest only $25,000 loans or something like that, which is fine, right? And they won't balance sheet, profit and loss at minimum. You go in QuickBooks, you go in your accounting software and print it out thinking that just because you got accounting software that the little L's in the back doing what they supposed to do with your reporting, and then you go and send that report off to them folks. They like, sir,
What's
ma'am,
this?
what is this?
What is this?
What is this? They go like, shh. Right. That's why you need somebody on your money team. Because one thing that they should be doing is asking you a lot of questions. They're going to be asking you a lot of questions. And let me just go ahead and say this too, because this is part of our brand. We have to let our clients know ahead of time. Like, hey, we ask a lot of questions. It's not like we're not trying to get in your business, but we are trying to get in your business because we don't want you going to jail for doing something crazy. Right? So we want to make sure that we give you the best advice possible. And if we have to step in and, seek counsel for some of our external partners to make sure that you straight, then we're going to do that. But you have to basically disrobe. You got to get naked in front of us so we can be able to tell you the best way to handle your money. Why you laugh?
Cause you said disrobe. I'm like,
You got disrobe.
you're right. You do have to bear it all.
You got to bear it all.
And it's not because, like you said, it's not because we're trying to be nosy, but we have to know everything because so we know what we're doing. And not to mention, certain decisions you make affects your cash flow. And if you can't run your business properly if you don't have the proper cash flow. So if you're looking at making a big purchase, you need to be like, oh, let me talk to my bookkeeper to make sure I actually got enough money. Because I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that's a good idea because regardless of the revenue you're bringing in, you still operating at a loss. You still don't have enough money in your bank. Like, let's do X, Y, and Z to build this cash flow up so that maybe we should make this as a goal for next year. Like, there are different things because, again, you don't want to put yourself in a situation to where you're struggling and you're not able to, pay your normal operating expenses. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're making decisions about your business.
Absolutely. And so, I'm always going to come with it because I love y'all. I swear I love y'all. I promise. I
She
know.
do. She
I
really
promise I
do.
love y'all.
She do. I mean, I do too, but yeah, she
I,
do.
I promise I love y'all. But look, if y'all going to go to these funding workshops, right, and try to, figure out to get funding, the whole purpose of bookkeeping is to find out how much capital you can afford to borrow. And if there's a situation where not only do you have to think about that loan forward facing, but also back face, like worst case scenario, if you default on the loan, what's going to happen? Right? You need somebody to help you read through those contracts so you'll know how to prepare yourself on the back end. It might be a situation where you might need additional like liability coverage or something like that to make sure in the event that you default, God forbid, that you get coverage to kind of help you. Because if you still got a team, you still got your own house to take care of, blah, 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 blah. You got to think about all that stuff. Hello, grants. Grant folks, I'm coming for you too, right? It just doesn't come from, oh, I got the grant. You got to read the fine print to figure out like what you can spend that money on. How often are they going to be sending you, hey, big heads, to see if you doing the grant the way you're supposed to be doing it? And if you're
Right.
not doing it, they reserve the right, to say like, hey, especially if the grant is given to you like in increments, they can stop that in a heartbeat. And if they issue you a W-9, those grant funds, you have to report that on your tax return, which means you're gonna be responsible for paying taxes on that income. Have you prepared for that? That's why you need us. Because we don't want to hear you fussing in the background talking about, I thought they said I ain't have to repay this grant, blah, blah. Technically, you did it. But according to them, that's what I be talking about. If you hadn't listened to Grants Are Free, make sure that you check that out. Because we talk about the life cycle of the grant and why folks issue these grants. So the purpose of the grant, right, is to help. There's a specific need in the community, right, that has to be met. And they're issuing funds for that said grant, right? So in order for them to hold themselves accountable, especially those funds that come from state government, federal government, or a foundation, they have to be held accountable for that money. So guess what? They're going to make sure you doing what you're supposed to do. So the W-9 is just a part of their accountability. So make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do with those things. So if you're thinking about applying for a grant, if you're trying to pitch for something, when we look at your pitch decks and you got accounting software, we're going to compare them numbers. We're like, okay, well, let's look at your tax return. Because you got to be able to articulate what, if them folks looking at your pitch deck and they start asking you questions and you can't answer them questions, they already know you sat up there, you just fudging these numbers. You just fudge. Like, that's why you need folks on your money team to help set you up for success. If y'all don't remember Dr. Nadine from a couple of episodes back, right? And she talked about how we helped her with that. And also, not only did she, at the time she had gotten one like a $10,000 grant, a couple months down the road, she ended up getting like a $20,000 grant with the same thing, just rinse and repeat. So that's why. But the key thing with Dr. Nadine, she knew her numbers. You got to know your numbers and you got to get with somebody that's going to help you articulate those things, right? So that's all I'm going to say. I'm all going off my soapbox.
You off your soapbox? Well, I'm about
Help
to
us,
get on one.
Chad. Help us help you.
About to get on
Help
one
us help you. COVID.
because you mentioned AP and AR. And here's what I'm going to say. If you don't know what you're doing, and I'm talking about like legit just doing stuff, you should stop. If you have an account, bookkeeper, whatever that you're paying to do these things for you, you should take your hands out of the software and trust your team to actually do the job that they're supposed to do. Like, you're the expert in your area, we're the expert in our area. So you have to trust that we know what we're doing. So if we're presenting something to you, you can't be like, oh, no, that's not how we rock. We give guidance and you pay us for a reason. Now, if you're not paying for those features, I'm still going to tell you if your stuff messed up. However, you should still be willing to partner with us and say, okay, especially if you keep getting messed up, like, you need to be able to say, okay, something is clearly wrong. It's me, not you. Like, be willing to take accountability for what you're doing and be willing to get the help necessary. Because if we're telling you constantly, this is a repeat problem, this is the same problem, and I'm asking you to stop, just stop. Like, just stop. And I'm saying it's probably one of the reasons some accountants and CPAs don't give their clients access to their books. You've been there, you messing up what we're doing. And then on the back end, we're having to fix it. When if you just do what your expert says to
Mm-hmm.
begin with, we wouldn't have to spend so much extra time cleaning up your books when we're already doing the bookkeeping on a monthly basis. That's my
Exactly.
spiel. My rant is over.
Yes. And so while you were talking, I got my post-it note and I just started writing some things down. Because especially when it comes to accounting access, and I'll give you an example because For those of you who know, I used to be an educator, used to be an administrator, used to be director of finance and ops. We had oversight. We had a CPA firm, and they used QuickBooks Desktop with us like clockwork. Every time that we would do the monthly financial close, they would, send us clarifying questions. And once they get that thing reconciled, after a certain, amount of time, you can go forward in the bookkeeping and access the software. But when it came to prior months, you get that password prompt so quick because,
Yeah.
just like Latasha said, right? Because they have to make sure that we're not undoing things. Because especially like in accounting software, you think you just making one move on the front end, but you can be affecting a whole slew of other functions on the back end,
A
right? And
whole lot.
then when we tell you we're gonna have to clean this up, this is out of scope, and we're gonna have to charge you for that. And then you know how Latasha will start doing the little grimace face, right? That whole type of thing. So we try to avoid those things, right? So for example, um, going back to APAR, right? You as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, we know you have to prepare your invoices and all of that. But when it comes to um, the payments, depending on how the payments are being brought in, let me say that as well. This is where the consultation needs to come into play because you may think, it should be received one way. And as you're receiving things one way, on the back end, when we're looking at the reports, it's showing up a different way, right? So you have to make sure when we're talking about those defined roles, that's what we were talking about. So if you're over here like with accounts pay, I'll use accounts receivable since we talking about invoices. If you're issuing the invoices, right? When we talk about the receipts and the payment management of it all, there needs to be defined roles and who's going to do what, right? Because it goes beyond. And like I said, we're using QuickBooks right now. So if your clients are paying you electronically, right, that's one thing. If you're making frequent deposits, like with checks and maybe even cash and stuff like that, that looks different, in the accounting software. So those things we have to talk about. So we won't have to be, cleaning things up on the back end. I was gonna say something else with nonprofits, but I lost my train of thought. But nonprofits that go for y'all too, as far as that as far as that is concerned. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure it'll come up again. But yeah. But let's talk about compliance tasks. Let's talk about that. I told you I love y'all, right? We already made that clear. All right. So what we've discovered also, and especially in the state of Tennessee, and I say that because Tennessee does not have income tax. So because we don't have income tax, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that assume that your business does not have to pay any taxes to the state of Tennessee, which is not true at all. Absolutely not true. That income tax is for your personal income, not for your business, because you're going to have to, one, make sure that you have to pay taxes on your business license, right? I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of do like the three. Your business tax, that's primarily just to renew your license every year, right? If your organization is an LLC corporation, you got to renew your articles of organization every year, right? If you're a nonprofit, hey, nonprofits, you got to file your annual fee every year, right? And then if you are LLC or corporation, you got to pay franchise and excise tax. You got to do that every year. Luckily, all those deadlines are the same as your federal deadline, April the 15th. But once you start getting letters from the state, right? You can't go into a panic. Just reach out to a professional so they can let you know how to tackle those things, right? Of course, we're going to always make sure that you also consult with the Tennessee Department of Revenue, Secretary of State, whoever you need to talk to, right, for certain specifics. But when it comes to just the regular protocol of it all, we can walk you through that. Because one of the things that we see a lot is that franchise and excise tax. I know everybody on social media talking about you need to get an LLC or the dreaded S corp, and I put that in air quotes for a reason, because the S corp is not an entity;
It's
it's
an election.
an election for your taxes, right? So that part, you got your LLC, and you just going on about your merry way, making all the money, doing all the things. And then the state of Tennessee send you a letter. Hey, big head, you ain't pay your franchise and excise taxes. And it's already late. And then another thing that I also see a lot too, like say, for example, if you're trying to get a loan, right? Or if you're trying to get a grant and they want to make sure that your entity is in good standing, there's a document called a certificate of existence that you have to get from the Secretary of State. Secretary of State gonna let you know, like, hey, you ain't got this certificate of existence because you owe taxes. 9 out of 10, it's gonna be that franchise and excise tax that you hadn't even filed. And like I was telling Latasha, a lot of times that I don't know where the breakdown is in communication with that. Because once you set up your LLC with the state of Tennessee, there should be some communication that says like, hey, um, congratulations on creating this LLC. Now go on over there to 10 Tap and set up your business tax account and your franchise excise tax account. For some odd reason, it ain't. I don't know where the communication. Something's happening, right? So what happens in a lot of cases, your business taxes are good, but your franchise and excise tax isn't, because now that I tell you, you ain't even created the account for you to file your franchise and excise tax. Right. So those are some of the compliance things that we're talking about. And then on top of that, you don't know what your state legislature, what changes and stuff are coming up. And then sometimes they may send you a letter, depending on where your last address they got on file. Right. That's another thing. So you not knowing is not an excuse. You
Google
still gonna
is
pay
your
them
friend.
penalties and interest. You still right.
You should Google, because I'll be honest. When I first started my business, I did I did my research, because at the time I was just like, okay, well, how do I do this? Where do I start? And I did my research. Granted, you call the state and things like that, but they're not going to tell you everything. So I remember doing my research, asking questions, and I actually have a registered agent. So hey, when I set them up, I asked them additional questions as well. So maybe that's something we should start telling everyone. Make sure you're calling and saying, hey, I just did this. What
Mm-hmm.
else do I need to do? Because a lot of times they're not sharing that information online, but you still going to have to take the extra step to make sure you have everything set up correctly, or to make sure, like you said, you don't have to do anything else. Because in Arkansas, it's different than Tennessee. We don't have to do all that. We just have to pay an annual fee. I think in May, file your tax and renew your business license and things, but we don't have all of that. So it's definitely important to do your research and call around and ask the questions.
Please, y'all, please do that, because we just get a lot of that all more times than not, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, especially with those type of things, those are the things we're going to be talking about in GIP Academy. So if you heard in the commercial, why you laughing? Yes, I
Because
did.
I'm excited about GIP Academy. Come on, come on. I've been
Because
waiting on GIP Academy.
like I said, we're creating the space for y'all to come in and be like, Sonja, Latasha, I got this letter in the mail. I don't even know what this thing talking about. We're going to say, scan that letter to us. We're going to have a specific email for the GIP Academy. And then we're gonna sit down and figure out what's going on. If nothing else, between an email, depending on how severe it is, then we might have to schedule like 15, 20-minute powwow. so we can point you in the right direction, right? So that's the whole point of GIP Academy, not just with, the wonderful online teaching and workshops that we provide, right? But also you guys need some live, you need a space where you can see us live and ask us questions. We're going to do that once a month. And then because the purpose of GIP Academy is for you guys to get, the proper hand holding, right, that you need, right? As you're doing your bookkeeping, at least once a quarter, we need to be looking at your books with you. That's included in the price. Okay. So we want to make sure that entrepreneurs are set up for success. That's the whole purpose of GIP Academy. And then if there's something that you're exploring, like this is why, like in the online course library, I've got those classes in a particular order. We ain't even talking about grants into the bottom. Grants is at the bottom of the library. Because, ma'am, sir, if you don't have your financials organized, if you don't know the difference between an accountant and a bookkeeper, don't you be asking nobody about no grant. Don't be asking nobody about no grant. So we want to make sure that you're setting yourself up the right way. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of GIP Academy. Get on the wait list, y'all. Get on the wait list. It starts and launches October the 1st. And like I said, we are excited about it because we know that you guys need that. And it's affordable. It's going to be $97 a month. That's going to be our beta price. Because as we're, this is a new experience for us having an online community. So we want to make sure that you guys are growing with us. So, but once we get that thing pristine, I'm just letting y'all know the price will go up, right? Day price ain't yesterday price, all that, but we want to make sure that, that we're setting things up the right way. We dare not overcharge you and our stuff slaw. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Okay. So, what you got to say, Latasha?
I was gonna say, we
That ain't how we roll. That's
even
not
if
our.
it is law, it's gonna be worth every penny that they pay because we always over share.
Well, we definitely over deliver.
We do, like
Diamond be mad.
especially when I. That's what I'm say. That's why Dom would be like, for your time. If I'm by myself, if Sonya by herself, if we together,
We
oh
together.
no, we going back and forth just and Diamond like,
She be
your
sending
time
us
is she just send a
text.
text message
You can get
like
my check. Then
wrap it
she just
up.
turn the Zoom off. She just turned her camera off. She like, child, these folks ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
You
Diamond keeps us on track. So if we cut off when we supposed to, it ain't because of us.
right, exactly. Because Diamond got the Zoom that cut off at 40 minutes.
Yeah,
And she'd be like, and you just had to
right.
take it off there.
Like 15 minutes max.
I love it. That's why you got to have, that's why we love our team. And you got to have
Yeah.
team members that's going to hold you accountable, man. I love
And
my team.
she don't play about that time.
Diamond does not play about that
Hey
time.
Diamond, she don't
Hey,
play
boo.
about that time.
We love Diamond. And y'all see Diamond in GIP Academy. You're gonna see the whole team in some capacity in GIP Academy. So you can kind of see how we roll. But yeah, that was pretty much our episode today because we just wanted to kind of share our heart about how you can help, your expert on your money team, right? Here's your homework assignment. Just email them and be like, you know what, I appreciate everything you do for us. I know tax time is coming up. How can I help you get me to XYZ? How can I help you do what you need to do better? Your folks be over there probably crying. I'm like, what's going on? Lord, is the rapture coming? Is the end time? What's going
I do
on?
the best I can over here. But I have been offering that spread. Listen, I've been offering that DIY tracker. Like, hey, next time you might want to. Matter of fact, it's probably a good time to start sending them emails out. Like, you ain't got a bookkeeper if you ain't using me or somebody else. You might want to go and get that spreadsheet. It's a one time fee,
Right.
$97, 95.
Mhm.
It's 90 some dollars. And
Mhm.
like Sean, you said, it won't be that price forever
Sure
because
won't.
it's a game changer, especially if you don't have anything to track your expenses and your revenue at all.
It's so easy, y'all. It's so easy to do.
And I even give
Um,
you a tutorial on how to use it.
I'm just
So yeah.
saying. Yep, and we're definitely going to be talking about that in GIP Academy for quarter 4. We're going to bring the boot camp in house. Know your numbers boot camp in house. So if nothing else, think about it. That price for that boot camp, right? $597. You're gonna get that same. We're gonna, of course, break it out and spread it out a little bit, but you're getting that same value for a fraction of
Mm-hmm.
the cost, in addition to all the other features that you're getting,
Right.
right? So just be thinking about that too. So yeah. So like I said, we're here to serve y'all, man, and just revolutionize fundamental business finance education. Too many entrepreneurs out here that have 5 products and services but can't get to the next level because your numbers aren't right. We got to change that. That's our mission. That's our mission and our vision. Make sure to get y'all together, right? So, all right. So I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We almost an hour in, y'all, but like if it's good to you, then that time is gonna go by quick. So if you need to replay it, do whatever you need to do. You know where to find us. You can email us. You can comment below on YouTube channel, on our social media pages. We're here to serve. So again, I'm Sonja Jones of GIP Financial. So Mr. Miyagi Money, Latasha Phillips, the lady with all the gravy, the lady with the gravy. Yes, the creator of the DIY tracking all things GIP as well. I appreciate you, Latasha, because when we get together, great things happen. So,
I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
all right. So we catch y'all on the next episode. Talk to y'all later and get on the wait list for GIP Academy. Stop playing. Bye. Hey y'all, thanks so much for tuning in to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, my name is Sonja Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And look, if you learned something from this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure that you like, that you subscribe. If you have some little nuggets, add some comments to the comment section of this podcast. But most importantly, I want you to share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. We want to share this good old fundamental business finance education so you can have the tools necessary to know your numbers and grow your business. All right. Take care, y'all. I'll catch you on the next episode.